Well, we've actually got some very, very interesting information about Mafia, the old country, the game that almost shook the internet when it was first announced at Gamescom a couple days ago, and we officially got a final teaser to this game, which looked incredible. Now, there's a lot of Easter eggs and a lot of hidden secrets that's available within this trailer, and from all the latest information that we have just received about the next Mafia game, and it actually seems like the game is going to be so much connected to Mafia 1 and Mafia 2 especially. Now, very huge thanks to Scythe Potato Amir on Twitter, who actually posted this picture, which kind of just made me very curious about how this game is going to be linked with Mafia 2. And apparently, if you take a look at the first chapter 1 sequence of Mafia 2, you'll actually see that the game starts off with a huge war happening, and the war actually takes place in this particular location. Now, from the descriptions, as you can see, the town from Mafia, the old country teaser, begins with the exact same town that you see here in the chapter 1 of Mafia 2 game, where you play as Vito Scalata. And to my surprise, it seems like the chapter 1, the mission of chapter 1, is also named as the old country. So how ironic, 2K decided to go ahead and name the next Mafia game as the old country, which means that the game is going to be taking place with a heavy relation to Vito's story or the location and timeline. So the game is basically a prequel to Mafia 2 as well as Mafia Definitive Edition, or you can even call it as the first Mafia game, because some of the screenshots that 2K shared on the official Steam page where you can wishlist the game currently. Now, in the screenshots, if you take a look from one of the Reddit posts that comes from the Mafia game, now you can see that both the buildings are literally the same. Now, this is the first mission that you play in Mafia 2, where you play as Vito in the war, playing as a soldier. Now, you enter this huge mansion here, and there's also like the same flag that is kind of shown off in the new Mafia games screenshot as well. And now, as you can see, it seems like all of the things around is broken, and most probably the start of the game is kind of related with the start of Mafia 2, because there was also a war that was happening back in those times where we played as Vito, and that's probably why everything over here is kind of just broken. And as you can see, it seems like bullets are flying off, and there is basically war happening in here. And I don't know what this is exactly. Turn the face cam off so you can see what I'm talking about. So as you can see here, it seems like there is some sort of a soldier lying down, or maybe it could be a weapon, you never know. So there is clearly something over here that we are not really aware of what that could end up being. So yeah, it seems like the whole reference is all about Mafia 2 and Vito's storyline. And also from all the leaks that we have got previously, we already learned that this game was going to take place in Sicily during the 1900s. And from all the information that we also received from the official Mafia's Twitter account, they said that this game was going to take place in the 1900s of Sicily. Now, they also said that the game is going to be having the authenticity is at heart of the Mafia franchise, and Mafia, the old country, will offer voice acting in Sicilian in line with the game's settings of the 1900s Sicily. Italian language localization will also be available for both in-game UI as well as subtitles. The UI and subtitling is going to be in Italian. How cool is that? Now, if you're someone that is interested to play the game in the Italian language, which is supposed to be like the original language as to when this game is set and with the location this game is set. So if that is something you guys would like, and if you know how to understand that language, I think that's going to be a really cool one to play the game as in the original state. But yeah, me personally, I'm going to play it in English because obviously that's the language I can understand. But from all the leaks that we received previously, all that we know is that we're going to be playing as Don Salieri. Now I'm going to play a clip from one of my previous videos for you guys so you can take a look, where I basically explain about all the leaks that we had about Mafia game being set in Sicily, who the protagonist is going to be, and the protagonist was basically supposed to be Don Salieri, the guy from Mafia 1 or even Mafia Definitive Edition, whichever you got to play, and the mob boss that Tommy Angelo works for. Now you're going to be playing as him in Mafia the Old Country, before he became the mob boss, before he started running this huge Mafia gang. What exactly happened, how the entire Mafia started, and where does the storyline lead all the way to the beginning. Now this is where everything gets very interesting, because not only is the storyline connected to Vito, it is also connected to Tommy Angelo, and it is also connected to so many different Dons that we got to meet throughout the entire history. Because Vito Scalata, as we know, he plays a very huge role in Mafia 1 because he's the guy who kills Tommy Angelo, and he also plays a very big role in Mafia 2 because he's the protagonist protagonist, we get to see the life of Vito as well as all the different dons. And then even in Mafia 3, he becomes one of the biggest mobsters out there who Lincoln Clay works for. So all of these three Mafia games plays a very huge role for Vito being a huge character. And I think now that the Mafia Old Country is also going to be representing Vito Scaletta's story in some way, but this time we're going to be seeing much more of Don Salieri. Now I'm just going to go ahead and play a clip as to all the leaks that we have previously received from one of my videos that I already showcased, because everything that was revealed in Gamescom, it turned out that all the leaks was absolutely true. So I'm very excited for it. I just want you guys to take a look at the clip, and then we'll jump into all the major details that we have got from 2K Games about Mafia the Old Country and some of the new teasers that they've shown off so far. Mafia 4 is set in the city of Sicily during the time period of the 1920s. Now, in this upcoming installment of the Mafia game, we will get to play as one of the iconic characters from Mafia 1 and Mafia Definitive Edition, which was the last Mafia game that was released, where in Mafia 4 we will get to play as a young Don Salieri. Yes, he was the boss of the mobsters that Tommy Angelo was working under. So this game's timeline is set before all the other Mafia games, and it's going to be a prequel to Mafia 1. Now, the game is all about us exploring the life of Don Salieri in his youngest days and how he earned himself the name in the gangster universe and topped out his rank all the way to becoming a Don. Now, as we know, all the other Mafia games are set in its own different historical locations, and all the locations that we've come across in Mafia games have always been real-life locations, from the first Mafia game being set in Lost Haven, and Mafia 2 was set in Empire Bay, and Mafia 3 was set in New Bardox, and now with Mafia 4 we're going all the way back to 1920s, where the game is going to be set in Sicily. Now, Sicily back in 1920s was not as developed, or you can say the industrialization and modernization was not yet invented back in those times. So the vehicles in this game are not only going to be including some of the oldest and antique cars, you will also get to travel through the open world using horses and wagons. Well, back in those days, horses, wagons, and boats were one of the highest used means of transportation before there were a lot of cars that was invented back in those days. So we will get to see a vast majority of different animals being used for transportation. Now, we received some latest information from Hangar 13's job listing on LinkedIn profile, where they're now looking to hire new developers, and the status of Mafia 4 has been updated and the game is now under pre-production, which means that it's at least going to take another 2 years for Mafia 4 to officially get released. Now, this is all part of the development cycle where the key story points, settings, and characters are fleshed out, and the environment begins to be detailed in concept art and also intricate designs. Now, it was revealed a few months ago that Mafia 4 could be a prequel that is set before the existing trilogy, and this game is going to be built in Unreal Engine 5.2, which is one of the best engines out there when it comes to graphics fidelity, as well as gameplay, fluidity, and ray tracing technology being on top-notch qualities. And the developers at Hangar 13 are moving away from the engine that was previously used to build Mafia 3 and Definitive Edition, which are now considered as the older titles. Now, at the moment, the key suggestion is that the game will be a prequel that is set in Sicily, the birthplace of Mafia. The Don Salieri himself grew up and got himself the name of Don in Sicily. And the game is now going to be set years before the first Mafia game, which saw players assume control of Tommy Angelo in the 1930s. So now the game is going to be set to 10 years before Mafia 1, which means that Don Salieri was already a thug and he's still not yet a Don, but then he's just working his way into becoming the final boss and controlling the empire of mobsters in Lost Haven. Now, of course, the leaks have confirmed that Mafia 4, which is set in Sicily, is going to have the biggest map that we have ever seen in any of the Mafia games. Now, bigger does not mean that the map is going to be fully open world. Hangar 13 has said that they're going to be focusing the game into making it much more grounded and linear, so that the game can focus more towards the story rather than just having an open world. And I think the Mafia games have never really been an open world title. It was pretty much like a semi-open world, but at the same time it was a linear storytelling game. And with Mafia 4, Hangar 13 is pretty much doing the same thing, and I think it's a good thing that at least they're trying to focus on the storytelling aspect rather than just making the world much bigger and emptier like Mafia 3. Now, the leaks have also stated that the game is going to be inspired from
the movie The Godfather. And the best part about the game is that we're not only going to have cars, since the game is set in 19th century, late 2000s back in those days. Sicily was a place which did not use a lot of cars back in those days. So people used to use much more of horses and chariot horses. So the game is also going to have both of these things. You're also going to have cars. You're also going to have chariots, horses. So there's going to be a lot of vintage style, the mobster action going on with Mafia 4 here.
So as we have taken a look at some of the previous leaks that we've already received, it is very clear that the game is set in Sicily, and the game is also going to have horses. It's going to have different types of weapons and vehicles and, you know, chariots and all that stuff. So it's basically going to be so different from any of the Mafia games that we've had before, because vehicles are going to be very, very huge. In the official Steam page, you'll actually see that they've shown one of these pictures where you can see that vehicles is indeed confirmed. But vehicles are really old school. It's the kind of first civilization vehicles, like the first ever old generation cars, which were super cool, by the way. So these are the vehicles that we're going to be using in this game. And there's also going to be horses and wagons, which was confirmed previously in the leaks, which kind of just makes me very excited to see what kind of a game this is going to be, what kind of a vibe this whole game is going to be creating. Now, it seems like we have a shovel and a shotgun, most probably referring to someone being dead and buried. Now, the first thing I want to show here is that when you watch the trailer, you'll actually see that there are plenty of clues that were shown in the teaser itself. Now, the first clue as to when this game could have been set is that, as you can see from one of these wine bottles, the date, the year that is written here is 1903, which could be like one of the teasers, maybe 2K Games on purpose just adding that in there so that fans can basically find out some of these Easter eggs. And it seems like the game could take place in 1903. Now, we also have some more teaser where you can see both of these headed dolls, and from my research I actually did find out that these two heads are basically figurines called as Teste di Moro. Now, these were known as some of the traditional Sicilian sculptures, which basically depicts a love story between a Moorish man and a Sicilian woman. Now, as per the history, it seems like the Moorish man and the Sicilian woman fell in love, and apparently the Moorish man proposed to the Sicilian woman, and she happened to fall in love with this guy, and later she found out that this dude was already married. So upon knowing that this man never told her the truth and a huge betrayal, she decided to kill him by beheading this guy and then using his head as an artifact, which she used as some sort of a pot where she could grow some plants inside it. It seems like it's a love story that's gone absolutely dark. So most probably it makes me wonder that maybe Mafia the Old Country is also going to be some sort of a love story, which then turns out to be betrayal, and then that's basically how Mafia gets formed. We never know. We don't know the love story of Don Salieri, so this could be something that's heavily focused on the love story and the historical facts and all this stuff. Now, if you move on to another shot from the teaser, you can see that there's this one naked man who's basically trying to kill another man, and then he's trying to protect a woman here. And previously I thought that it was Cain and Abel from the Bible stories, but then I now figured out that it's not Cain and Abel. It's actually a real life historical painting, and it has a story of love behind it. So this painting is apparently about Isis and Galata, where Galatia is supposed to be this beautiful woman who Isis falls in love with. And then there's also a huge giant named Polyheme, who's apparently one of those Nephilims, also known as the child of fallen angels in the Bible depiction. And it seems like this giant was also in love with the same woman, and he ends up killing Isis, who was the lover of this woman, and that seems to be how the storyline goes. So this whole story of love, betrayal, and dark analogy is basically what Mafia the Old Countries is possibly going to be representing, and it just seems like it's going to be a very, very interesting storyline. And honestly, man, if you ask me, I'm really looking forward to a storyline of Mafia that is kind of set in Sicily, playing as one of a Don character who's going to be a future Don, and we're getting to know his story, and there's going to be a lot of love story involved. And this could turn out to be one of the best Mafia games. And of course, every Mafia game except of Mafia 3, it was kind of average game, but every Mafia game that has ever been created so far, every single one of them, Mafia 1, Mafia 2, Mafia Definitive Edition, which is like a complete remake of the first Mafia game, all these games games have been absolutely fantastic when it comes to telling a good storyline and also taking very huge references from the past history of what real mafia was like. So it's kind of all about the Italian mafias and how everything came to existence, and I'm so excited to go ahead and explore Sicily this time, and it seems as though it's going to be a love story. Now let me know in the comments down below from all the information that we've received so far. What do you guys personally think? Are you actually excited in playing as Don Salieri? Because that is the one question I really want to go ahead and ask you guys, because I know I'm very excited. I really love the character in Mafia Definitive Edition, and it would be great to know what kind of a character he was in his younger days and what kind of just motivated him in order to be who he is right now. It's going to be a very good storyline, that's for sure, and the graphics also looks very good. I would love to know your opinions down below in the comments, so feel free to go ahead, leave your thoughts in the comments. Now if you guys want to stay updated with more Mafia informations and also all the upcoming open world games, then this channel is going to be your #1 source for all those kinds of information. So make sure to go ahead, subscribe to the channel. It's absolutely free, of course. You don't have to pay a dime in order to stay subscribed. So that's the best part about YouTube. So make sure to go ahead, do it. Drop a like if you guys are excited for Mafia, the old country. It also helps support the channel, the videos, a lot more than you guys think. So your like is absolutely appreciated. So please take a few seconds, drop a like, really means a lot. And with that being said, hope you guys have a wonderful rest of the day, and I'll see you guys on tomorrow's video. Until then, take it easy, fams, and goodbye.